Okay, hello and welcome. It looks like it's just me today. I did actually think it was going to be a problem with the link, but I've just been and checked and it is working. So I'm going to carry on. And if people are joining me or you're watching on the catch up, because that's the way you'd prefer to do it, or as I kind of know, we're out of your time zone. Um, yeah, please add to the comments or anything, but make yourself comfortable. Make sure you've got a nice drink ready. And as you can tell, I'm a bit nervous. There's a bit anxiety actually. So it's probably a good idea that we're doing this talk today. So what are we going to talk about today? And actually, before I start, I just need to warn you all. I was going to say cameras are optional. So you could actually sit and be watching me with your camera turned off. If you have a microphone, I would ask you to mute your microphone just while I'm talking. But if you wanted to have conversation, join in, ask questions, just put your hand up, or there's a little app at the bottom of, oh, what am I doing? See, right at the bottom of your Zoom that says react. And if you click that, a little hand will come up on the screen that will let me know that you want to say something. Please do ask questions. I would like, although I said if the camera's off, I would have liked you to put the camera on just so that we know who's speaking. But I do appreciate that everybody has some privacy and would like some confidentiality because this is being recorded and it will be shared with all the people that couldn't make it today. So please remember that this is a place of kindness. There is no shame, there is no judgment. We are who we are, and there is no such thing as a silly question. Oh, it looks like somebody's coming to join me. I wonder who this is. I'm just going to pause for a moment. I'll probably have to edit this out. Actually, no, they're not joining in on the microphone and they are following the instruction about not putting their camera on. So this is a gentle space. I feel like I'm a long way down from you guys. Hang on. This is the first time I've done anything like this, so you have to bear with me for the anxiousness and also the technical problems that I might come across. Um, Please take away from today what helps you and leave what doesn't. It's not mandatory. It's pick a mix of what you'd like to find out. So I was going to say, before we actually start, I'm going to give us a minute to just arrive and settle in. So regardless that it's just me on my own, I am going to turn my camera off. I'm going to ask you to close your eyes in the catch up, because I'm sure you'll all be watching. And then I'm going to talk you through a heart activation breathing exercise, just 60 seconds or so, just to bring us into the room so that we can leave our busy days behind and learn to relax and get ready for the session. So when you're ready, just get yourself comfortable and listen to my voice. So what I'd like you to do is I'd like you to just close your eyes. And if you're not comfortable doing that, just stare at a space below your eyesight line, looking down perhaps at the floor. And just take a few moments to take a few breaths and relax. And right now, there's nobody wanting anything, nobody needing anything. The only thing for you to do is to listen to the sound of my voice as I guide you gently through this exercise. And I'd like you now to take your right hand and place it on your chest, just slightly to the left side of your chest so that it's covering your heart. That's right. And as you do this, you can start to take a slightly deeper breath than you would normally do. In through the nose and out through the mouth. There's no need to breathe in so deeply that it feels forced or encourages any feelings of anxiety. Just breathe in for the count of 3, 2, 3. and out with a count of 5, 2, 3, 4, 5. Very good. Now, some people may find that the breathing in and out is longer or shorter than the count of 3 or 5, and that's absolutely fine. Allow yourself to get into the natural rhythm for you and your body. Just a nice, gentle breathing rhythm as you settle down and settle in to a rhythm that is yours and yours alone. And I want you to focus on each and every breath going through your heart, and then each and every breath out going through your heart. Now we know that you can't physically breathe through your heart, you breathe through your lungs. And yet you can use your powerful imagination to breathe into different parts of your body. That's the way meditation works sometimes. That's the way mindfulness works sometimes. If you focus on a particular area of your body as you breathe into it, it can begin to feel like you're actually physically breathing through it. I'd like you to focus breathing in and breathing out through your heart. As you breathe in, I want you to physically feel your breath go through your heart. Physically feel that breath. Use your imagination. Notice the sensations of your breaths in and out as you continue listening to my breath, to my voice, as you take each breath. Imagine a calming white light filling your body. Feel it reaching into every muscle, every knot, every ligament, every tendon, and feel everything starting to soften and to relax. Let the shoulders release down, the neck loosen, and the muscles in the back soften. Let the muscles in the face relax. Let your jaw slacken. With every breath out, let go of all the stresses and anxiety. All the tension is leaving your body and evaporating away. Breathe in through your heart. Breathe out through your heart. Breathe in through your heart. Breathe out through your heart. And I'll just be quiet for a few moments as you continue on your own rhythm, and you can leave everything else behind. Very good. Now you can start to begin to wiggle your fingers and your toes. Your eyes begin to flutter. As you come back into the room, open your eyes, have a little stretch, a wriggle, and maybe a yawn. And hello there, welcome back into the room. So hopefully we are all in the room now and you're ready to find out why your body stays in the high alert after a heart event, and learn about 3 physical techniques to signal your brain that the emergency is over and you don't need to be stressed or anxious unless it is happening. So what I will say, actually, before we go any further, is I noticed that there is somebody here. I think you might have missed the beginning bit. My name's Sally, and from what I can see, you're called iPhone. It's nice to meet you. Um, and you can join in, ask questions, participate, use the chat if you'd like, and make it partly for you. It's not just me talking at you. Okay, so first of all, we're here to talk about anxiety and stress and worry, and that seems to hinder our recovery, our emotional and mental recovery, our ability to live our lives happy. We survived the heart attack, we survived the cardiac arrest, we survived the heart surgery. We have focused on the physical repairs, the stents, the bypass, the medications that are keeping our bodies healthy and keeping us alive. But there's another system that was impacted by the trauma of our cardiac event, and that's your internal nervous system, or the unconscious mind and the primitive brain. Please excuse me taking my cardigan off. I'm usually really, really cold, but I think I'm just feeling a bit warm today. I also need to warn you all that I actually have an unruly cat and a bit of a barky dog. So if you do too, please feel free to let them join in, because I know that my two will. And if I shut them out, then they're going to just howl and whine at the back of the door. Okay, so we are today going to be trying to use a simple language that you can really make sense of and understand. So I'm going to be using the metaphor of a car or a vehicle. Quite a lot through this session, so you may actually get a bit fed up with it, but I think it will make sense as I start going on about it. Currently, it's to help you to understand that the nervous system is still redlining after your cardiac event, even though your car is parked, and how you can take back control of that steering wheel again, rather than letting the unconscious mind and the nervous system operate on the trauma that it's already experienced. So if you have any questions, as I said, please join in. You can always DM me on Facebook, or you can send me an email to sally@myheartandmind.co.uk, or you can use the comment section on Zoom. So I'm assuming that everybody here has driven a vehicle of some shape or form. A motorised vehicle is what I'm really talking about. If you haven't, just bear with me. I'm sure you understand the principles of what it's like to have a motor car, motorbike, even a boat, I suppose. So when your life is threatened, your body's safety alarm sensors go into total system alert override. It floors the gas pedal to give you the adrenaline and the cortisol that you need to survive. It's a very primitive way of protecting us, because as human beings, our objective in life is to actually stay alive. And so we're constantly looking out. Oh, there's my dog, looking out for things that are going to affect us or impact our lives. It floors to give you all of this chemicals and hormones from your brain so that you can react quickly, so that you can actually fight that woolly mammoth or hide from that tiger, or freeze. Whatever it is that you need to do in your moment, that is what it's there for. Unfortunately, after the crisis has passed, sometimes those sensors get stuck, and they get stuck in that red zone that creates that exhausting state of tired but wired. And this personally was one of the things that affected me after my heart attack. I couldn't sleep at night. I found it really, really difficult to relax enough to go to sleep. I woke in the night, and once I'd woken in the night, I didn't want to go back to sleep again. And often I would wake early in the morning because, again, unconsciously, I did not want to be asleep. The reason, I believe, was because I had my heart attack while I was asleep. It was my heart attack that woke me up. This burning indigestion just hit me, and this total cold sweat that I had. And despite the fact that my warning system had woken me up, I was terrified that if I went back to sleep again, I was going to have another heart attack, and this time I might not be alerted, I might not wake up. So you're not alone. If you've been experiencing anything like that, it can change, and it is something that I got through. And now, other than the fact that I'm a lady of a certain age, I do actually get a good night's sleep. And I can talk for hours about sleep and how to improve it, but that is a subject for another time. So where was I? Understanding what's happening is what really matters. Knowledge is the first step of being able to lower anxiety. It might actually not be anxiety that you think you're experiencing. It could be a sensation of tension, or you could think about the fact that you're worrying a lot of the time. But I want you to know that you aren't anxious or worried because you are weak. You are feeling the effects of your own safety survival system. Your alarm has gone off and it's trying to protect you even now after you have been through your event and you're safely fixed physiologically. By the end of the time today together, well, that didn't make any sense, did it? By the end of your time with me today, I am hoping that I will have given you a new owner's manual, so you'll know how you can drive and use the car that is our brains and our nervous system, a map so that you have an understanding about why your internal driver feels like it's been kicked out of the driving seat by your alarm system, so you no longer have control. Your ability to understand and identify why you feel hypervigilant and stuck on the gas. And it's not just about things connected to your cardiac event. It can be anything in life that you might think previously you would have handled quite easily, but for some reason now your anxiety is a lot higher and it's harder to manage. And finally, I'm going to give you the brake kit. I'm going to give you 3 ways to manually engage that brake pedal in that car to slow it down, to signal to the engine that the road is clear and it's safe to slow down now. So before I go on, I'm going to tell you another little story about my recovery, about how I was terrified to leave the house at first. I have always been quite a gregarious person, always happy to go out. I'd go out to see friends, I'd go out down the pub. I would always be going backwards and forwards over to my parents to make sure that they were okay. I had no problem with seeing people. I loved eating out. But after my heart attack, I froze. I could not leave the house. I didn't realise at first how bad it was until my best friend Dot came and asked me. She was visiting me, and she'd been nagging me and saying, "Let's go out for lunch. Let's go out for lunch." And I was like, "No, no, no, no. We can have a sandwich here." And eventually, I realised that it wasn't that I didn't want to go out; it was I was scared to go out. And once I'd shared that with her, we kind of worked a way of gently getting me out of the house. And I'll be honest and say I was incredibly lucky. There was a restaurant at the time right outside my doctor's surgery. And therefore, my small, simple steps were I was reassured by the fact that my doctor's surgery was there and I could literally 2 minutes from the restaurant, I'll be in my doctor's surgery. Not everybody has that luxury, and unfortunately, the restaurant isn't there anymore. But I have felt this. I tell you these stories because I want you to know that the glitch that you are experiencing is one that I've lived through. It's a terrifying way to drive through life, but it doesn't have to stay this way. And yes, whilst I'm anxious about delivering this workshop with you today, I can handle it, whereas I perhaps would have struggled previously. It's about knowing why you feel away. And obviously, I'm talking to myself and to people that are strangers. It's the same as if I'm giving a live presentation somewhere. I need the nerves, I need the anxiety, I need the edge for the presentation, but it needs also to be controllable. And with the techniques that I know and I've learned and I teach and practice myself, it means that I can actually do this. So, okay, I want to start by describing to you, again, using the car metaphor, a feeling that I think you probably can all identify with. And that is, I want you to imagine that you're driving down the highway, down the motorway, and suddenly your engine fails or the steering locks up. It's something that makes the car absolutely out of your control. It was a terrifying high-speed crisis. You managed to get the car to the mechanic afterwards. The repairs were made and the car is technically fixed. However, every time that you get behind that wheel now in your car, you find yourself staring at the dashboard, wondering, is the warning light going to go on? Every tiny vibration through the steering wheel it feels like the wheel's coming off. Every soft click, every whirl, every sound, I have a screeching sound in my car at the moment. It sounds like the engine's going to break down again. You're driving with your shoulders up by your ears and your foot is hovering over the brake. You're worried about accelerating because something might happen when you're at full speed. You're checking the engine lights all the time. It's like you're in constant worry all the time because you don't actually really trust the car because it's let you down once before, despite the fact that it has been physically fixed. This is exactly what happens after a heart attack, cardiac arrest, or a surgery, or even a heart diagnosis. All of them can cause a traumatic effect on our bodies and our minds. Your body has survived the major mechanical failure. Now your internal safety system is so terrified of another crash that it's staying in the emergency mode just to keep you safe. And today we're going to look under the hood, another car metaphor, I know, to see why your alarm system won't turn off and how we can reset it. So let me just share my screen with you if I can. Let's go to that side. Oh, I don't want to print it. Let's show it to you. Oh, why is it not? There we go. I know, just a little bit of technical failure there. Okay, so basically, I want you to think about your brain as being a vehicle with three distinct layers. There's the engine, which is the reptilian part of the brain. What's on the screen here is the lizard brain. This is the oldest part of the brain and it sits at the base. It's like the engine's idling system. It handles the basics like heart rate, breathing, and your bodily temperature without ever even having to think about it. It is continually trying to keep us at homeostasis, which is where our bodies operate at the best. Then we have the alarm system, which is the mammal brain, also known as the limbic system. This is your internal safety sensor. Its only job is to detect danger. And as I said earlier, as a human being, we are programmed to be looking out for danger because the purpose of us here is to survive and to procreate. When you had your heart attack, cardiac event or surgery, this sensor didn't just go off, it screamed. Now it's become hypersensitive. It's linked, and it has linked, sorry, it's linked any sensations in your chest or any shortness of breath or anything that you might think could be a catastrophe, such as another heart attack, a surgical need or something like that. And it is, because it is scared, it has actually hijacked the car. And again, whilst I'm talking about after our cardiac event and how we are so hypervigilant about having another cardiac event or heart attack, whichever it is that suits you and your situation, this does apply to other areas, because once that limbic system is in and it is out scanning, looking for problems and issues and things that are a risk to you, it doesn't matter whether it's your body or whether it is the fact that you need to go to the shops and perhaps you feel like you can't leave the house. So hopefully, if you've got any questions again, please do let me know. But the final part of this brain is that the driver is the human brain, the neocortex. It's actually the biggest part of the brain, and it's the human part of the brain behind our foreheads. This is where the logic sits. This is where the GPS system is. It's where everything is rational and thinking. It's the part of you that knows the doctor said you're recovering well, but it also is the part of you that says, maybe not. It's the part that questions. It's the part that runs our lives. It makes decisions. It's the grown-up part of us, let's say, the bit that we have control over. So the problem is that when the alarm system is screaming, it kicks the driver out of the seat. You can't rationalize with your human thinking part of the brain into feeling safe because the driver isn't in control right now. The alarm is. And the alarm is something that is run by the unconscious. It is not something that you can think your way out of. So you are in survival mode. So let's stop sharing the screen again. Okay. So the gas and the brake, I've talked about them in this car analogy. And what I'd like you to think about is there's the sympathetic nervous system, which is the gas, which is the system that keeps us alert. It is the gas pedal that helps us to survive. The brake is the parasympathetic nervous system. So as a description, I'm going to just take you through. You first have that sympathetic, which is the part for our survival, keeping us safe. And as I said, it's the gas pedal. And you've probably heard people talking about the fight, flight, or freeze. During your heart attack, your body floored that gas pedal. It kept you alive. It dumped adrenaline, cortisol into your system, keeping the engine running. So therefore, your sympathetic is strange, actually. You say sympathetic nervous system and you think that actually it's going to be kind and gentle, but it's not. It's the bit that actually it makes your body, it makes you want to go to the toilet when you're nervous and anxious. It makes your temperature change. All the blood goes into the central body and your legs, making you ready to run away, which is why we can often feel lightheaded and things like that. So it is literally revving your engine, trying to keep you going. The problem is that for many of us, it's stuck on. And it's stuck on at about 7,000 RPM while you're sitting on the couch, while you're trying to go to sleep at night, while you're just trying to live your everyday life. And it is what makes us hypervigilant to things that we shouldn't necessarily be so. I feel like I'm really rambling because there's nobody answering or talking back to me. So please bear with me. I obviously like talking a lot. And it's one of the reasons why we find that sleep can be quite impossible, because one of the things that we actually know is when we go to bed at night, when we go to sleep, we need our cortisol levels to be very low, probably at the lowest point that there is, so that the other sleep hormones can actually take their place and allow us to sleep. And what I want you to remember is you can't park your car while you've got your foot on the accelerator. So now let's talk about the parasympathetic nervous system, the brake. Now this is the kind of part, this is the bit that we want to activate and we want to get in touch with. It's also known as rest and digest, which is when it is triggered, when the nervous system is feeling okay and relaxed, it is because we know that we're safe, and it will allow us to stop, to relax, to eat food, to digest without consciously always looking over our shoulder for any risks or hazards. It's the system that allows your heart to heal. It will allow your blood pressure to drop down, and also for your mind to quiet, so you don't have so much of that monkey mind chit chat going on all the time. And now, as I said, right now, the alarm system is afraid that if it lets you rather hit the brake, that the car might stall, bearing in mind the original story that I was asking you to imagine, or you might crash, or there will be some loss of control of the car. It thinks that staying on the gas pedal is going to keep you safe. It thinks it's the only way. Our goal today is to prove to your body that the road is clear and that it's safe for us to use the brake and to take our foot off the gas pedal. So what I would have said if I had people live with me today is we could have had a discussion around your experiences of anxiety and threat and how it's impeded in your life, etc. But as I know that there isn't, I would like to say to all you that are watching and to the person that is with me today, just have a think about it for a moment and identify for yourself just how anxiety is affecting your life. What's been the hardest thing for you about having and experiencing anxiety? What surprised you the most emotionally after your heart attack, or your heart surgery, or your cardiac arrest, or your heart diagnosis? And what have you already tried? What do you already know about that has helped even a little? So for me, these are really great discussion points because it's not really just about me teaching you, telling you, offloading onto you everything, but it's about us sharing experiences, and so that we feel that we're not alone in this. I thought I was alone. I thought I was the only person to be going through all of my terrors, literally the fear, the anxiety. I cried constantly. I really did not know that it was quite normal. And I'm not saying everybody feels this way, but there's a great deal of people that do. So again, hopefully you've had a little bit of time to have a think about that. And if you haven't, have a think later. So the next step, we've learned all of the bits and the background and what our brain is and how it works, etc. But how do we actually switch from the sympathetic nervous system to the parasympathetic nervous system? It's such a mouthful. Why can't we come up with some easier words? But hey, it's a bit like, how do we reach the brake when the alarm system's got all the doors locked? The answer is, and I'm sure a lot of you may have heard about this before, it's a vagus nerve. And I want you to think about the vagus nerve as being the main wiring system, the loom maybe. We used to call looms on motorbikes. I don't know if they are in cars or buses, etc. Or even the brake cable, if it makes more sense to you. It connects to the brain, the driver, to the heart and the lungs, the engine, and it's the physical path to the brake. The signal travels down. And here's the amazing and interesting part. Most of the information on this cable travels from the body up to the brain. It connects with our stomachs. It is one of the main parts, and there are loads on social media that you can find loads and loads of information about managing and calming through the vagus nerve, and they talk about toning it, but we're not going to go into this too much detail. We're just going to learn about how we can utilize it to achieve more calm, more peace, and to allow our anxiety to disappear, and to teach ourselves that in the future we can be less anxious and that we can actually relax. Because one of the things I need to make clear is the techniques that you are taught, not just by me, by anybody else, they are brilliant for in the now, for in that moment. But it's about continually, I think I've just made that word up. It's about continuing to use them and practice them regularly so that your mind and your body relearn the ability to be back in control again. So, as I said, this nerve is really, the vagus nerve is a very integral part. And as I said, where it's connected to obviously, you know, when we're nervous, when we're anxious, when we've got something big that's happening, or it may not even be big, it could just be our perception that it is a big thing, we can actually find that our chest is tightening because our breathing is getting a little bit labored because we've already got kicked in by the amygdala, the part of the brain that actually is on the warning signs, etc. And it's the vagus nerve is picking up signals from your stomach as well. So if you're nervous and anxious, we tend to tense our stomachs and we hold ourselves up tight, which is sending signals up to the brain, which is giving the messages that there is some danger, there is something going to happen. So therefore, that's when the anxiety really starts to kick in because it becomes a vicious cycle. I'm not sure which one people say. Now, it's all very well having the danger system going, but how do we turn it off, as I said earlier? We can hack the cable by using specific breathing and by using physical movements. We can manually send a clear signal to the body up to the brain. And we know that we can't tell the alarm system to shut up, to go away, to stop it with words. But we can signal it to shut up by changing how we breathe and how we move. We are essentially putting on the brake system, but manually. So how do we take the wheel back? In the short term, as I said, the techniques I'm going to talk about today, they're like tapping the brakes as you're driving along. They like slowing the car down gently, quickly, getting it to, in that moment, catch your breath, take a break. But in the long term, it's the practicing, because every time you feel anxious, you can then put into practice these techniques. And sometimes after a while, things don't actually bother you so much because it becomes almost automatic. In as much as, like today, I know that I was going to be anxious, so I used a couple of my own techniques, or they weren't mine, somebody else actually made them, I just share them, to calm myself, to ground myself, so that it didn't feel so scary to do this. We are retraining the alarm system. We are retraining those parts of our brain that was traumatized. And I'm not talking about trauma with a capital T. I'm just talking about trauma, the shock, the fear, the terror that happened because we had a life-threatening experience. We found out that we were not immortal, and that is frightening in itself. So we're retraining this alarm system, and we're teaching it that crashes aren't going to happen all the time. Like we didn't believe they were going to happen before our event. And situations in life aren't always life-threatening. It's just the car is running, it is ticking over. And we're going to teach the driver how to get back into that driving seat again. Your body has stayed on the gas far too long now. It stayed on the gas to save your life. It did a great job. You can thank it, because actually, if you meditate or anything like that, it is well worth actually spending a few moments going inside and thanking yourself for trying to keep you safe, for doing such a brilliant job. And tell it now, the crisis is over, and it's time to teach your body how to cruise again. Let's put the cruise controls on. Let's start with our first brake pedal exercise. Now, as I said right early on, please remember, this is an invitation to try any of these techniques. It is not a prescription, and in all cases, I want you to bear in mind that you must pay attention to any medical advice that you are given by your doctors, by your GP, by your cardiologist. If you feel that anything is more than just normal anxiety, any tightness in your chest, make sure you get medical help, and always talk to somebody. And I also want you to remember that when I talk about breathing, if any of the exercises make you feel like your chest is tight or that they're difficult or you can't hold your breath that long, etc., then please don't do it. Just do what is comfortable for you. I'm sure many of you know, if you're part of my Facebook group, that I a couple of months ago went through lung surgery to remove part of my lung due to lung cancer. So breath work is something that I do find a little bit difficult. I get breathless, and I'm surprised I've actually not got breathless now. And so I totally understand, and I urge you to take good care of yourself. Listen to your body. It's the thing that will drive you the right way. So let's move on. So this is a technique that if you're a fan of Andrew Huberman, he's a neuroscientist who has many podcasts that are really informational and helpful. He was the first person that I heard of talking about this, and it's called the physiological sigh. I sometimes get it confused and call it the psychological sigh, but it is actually called the physiological side. And it's a rapid reset, and it's an ideal. And this is definitely one that I did earlier today before I jumped on here. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to tell you what it is, and then we're going to do it together. So actually, I've just looked at the clock and realised that I've been waffling on for at least 45 minutes. So I did think that this was going to be an hour. I will try to speed up a little bit and make it end as it should be. I might have to edit out some of my waffly bits. Anyhow, so what happens here is this is one of the fastest ways to calm your body and offload carbon dioxide. It signals the engine to slow down, and it's a double inhale. So what you would do is you just stop, take a deep controlled breath in through your nose. And then when you get to just when you think you've nearly done your full breath in, you stop and you take a second sip or sniff of breath in. And then your lungs are fully inflated. And this is really key because it empties out all of the carbon dioxide. And then what I want you to do is you exhale very long and very slowly through your mouth as if you were blowing out through a straw. So the real goal of this breathing exercise is to make the exhale twice as long as the inhale. And you practice this 2 or 3 times, maybe 4 at the most, and you will have calmed and focused and grounded yourself. So shall we give it a go together? So, okay, I've got to make sure my glasses stay on. So we're going to take a breath in through our nose. Oh, I can already tell that that's difficult to do. And then when you're at the top, and then exhale. Allowing the shoulders to drop down, jaw to release. And then in again. And one more time, in through the nose. Second sip of air. And exhale slowly. I couldn't help myself but close my eyes as I was feeling so relaxed as I did that then. Just notice how you feel. And again, moving back to the vehicle connection, this is like clearing the exhaust pipe so the engine can idle smoothly. Okay, so hopefully you felt that, and if I've rushed through this, please practice this afterwards. I will hopefully I say hopefully, it's because I haven't created it yet, but I will send and make available a download with the description of all these steps. So it's not something you have to worry about taking notes on. So the second one, this is quite interesting actually, because this is something that I had done to me when I was quitting smoking many, many years ago by an acupuncturist. And I had no idea why at the time, but actually now I'm older and wiser, I understand quite what was going on. And I'll tell you about that in a moment. But let me tell you what this is first. This is called the vagus nerve ear massage. It's a direct wire. So the vagus nerve, as I described before, runs centrally to our body, and it is the main communication backwards and forwards between our brains and our bodies. It has small branches that go to places like our heart and our lungs and stomach and brain, etc. But there is a small branch that sits by the surface of our ears. And by stimulating it, we send out safe signals to our brains that through the vagus nerve that directly linked to the brain without having to do any of the heavy breathing. So if you're like me and you find actually currently at the moment, I find deep breathing quite difficult, although it's something I have to do to practice, which is my exercises. And sometimes when you have a heart condition, deep breathing can make you feel a bit lightheaded or anxious. This is a really good technique to use. So I'm going to share my screen again to show you a picture so you know what I'm talking about. Bear with me and the technology here. Oh, oh dear. Let's try again. Okay. So I'm going to have to get an assistant to do these bits for me. So step one, I want you to locate the concha in your ear, and I'm going to talk you through this first, and then we can have a go together. This is a little hollow bowl in your ear, just outside your ear canal. If you look at the diagram on the screen at the moment, hopefully that should make it clear to you. Step two, we'll be using either your index pointy finger or a clean thumb and applying very gentle pressure to that area. And we're going to massage it in slow circular movements for about 30 seconds. We may not do it for 30 seconds today, although I'm tempted to let's do that. And while you're doing this, you're going to allow your jaw to go slack. You're going to unclench your teeth and relax your tongue. And from a vehicle metaphor, this is like checking that the wiring harness is there to make the brake signal is actually reaching the wheels. So I'll just stop sharing the screen. Okay, so first of all, get yourself comfortable again and stick your finger in your ear. I'm going to use my index finger, and it doesn't matter which ear you use, you can do either. But you just gently, without causing any pain, just circular movements, round and round, gentle pressure. And at the same time, oh, sorry, yawning. At the same time, it's hard to relax your jaw while you're talking at the same time. And the same as unclenching my teeth. So please follow my instructions, not my actions. Just relax your jaw down. Breathe gently and easily. Release your tongue. You may want to place the tip of your tongue on the roof of your mouth and unclench your jaw. That's right. And you continue for about 30 seconds. And then stop. So I don't know if you have been following along with me, but if you have, just have a think, how are you feeling now? Do you feel relaxed and calm? Do you feel peaceful? Good. So now, actually the third one. And again, I've got 4 minutes to do this and wrap up. So hopefully we're not going to be too quick, because these are the important things. These are the tools that I want to teach you about. This one is called the horizon scan, and it's like resetting the GPS system. When we're in survival mode, our vision narrows. It becomes very insular. We are looking out for, it's tunnel vision. We are looking out for the threats. But by consciously widening our vision, we're sending messages to the brain to say that there is no predator in the room and that we're actually safe. So one of the techniques to do is going to be this one. And it can be done quite easily. Nobody has to know that you're doing it. I've done this many a time in public without people realizing. So essentially what you do is you have your head facing forward and you look forward. And then without moving your head or your neck, you move your eyes. Sorry, I missed a bit. Without moving your head or your neck, you soften your eyes. So you make everything just go slightly out of focus. It might take a little bit of practice, but it is something that we do. It's like taking the big picture in front of us rather than just focusing on that small spot in front of you. And then you take your eyes either to the left or the right, whichever suits you, all the way across again without moving your head, and then to the middle and back to the opposite side without moving your head, and to the front. And then making sure that your eyes are still softly gazing. I want you to try and see how far behind you can see. So I want you to imagine that you are seeing the walls, the ceiling, the floor, your ears. How far can you allow your focus to soften and relax? And sometimes if you find it very difficult, it's like start with your fingers, your hand. Oh, you can't see them. Yeah. Start with your hands in front of you and then gradually take them to the back of your head and out. So, and try and keep your focus on both your hands until you can't see anymore. And it's tempting to look at one hand and then the other, but the objective is to actually look at both of them. And then you take a slow, gentle breath in and notice how your shoulders drop even further. So, shall we do that together? Okay, we're just going to run through it once. So that is, you start by focusing in front of you. That's right. Maybe a point on the wall, etc. And then relax away. So it's broader. Then I like to look to my left. Through the middle. To my right. Back to the middle. Ensuring that my gaze is softened. Expand my eyesight. So it's almost as if I can't actually focus on what's in front of me, but I can see everything that's happening to the sides of me. It's really weird because I'm looking at myself on the screen, so it's a bit bizarre, but I think you know what I mean. Okay, so you can practice that a couple of times and that will help send that message from the vagus nerve up to the brain to just relax and digest and relax. Okay, so that is the three main physical activities that I wanted to tell you about today. But I'm going to quickly run through some other ideas that aren't necessarily physiological things that you can do to change that messaging. If we were a group, I would be actually asking for a discussion here so that we could share the tips and ideas that we already use and just see what else there is out there, because I'm sure that some of you have got some really successful ideas that you use that I may not have even thought of. So the first one, and these are quite quick and simple ones that I'm just going to explain to you, and hopefully I will include some information about where you can find out more, but most of this stuff is on my website or in my Facebook group. So the first one is, when you're feeling anxious, worried, or concerned about anything, jump around. I sometimes call it the Sally Shake, because just by moving our energy round, can actually change our focus on our thoughts. So whether it be literally a jumping up and down on the spot, a little Sally wiggle and shake, whether it's just going out for walking in the fresh air, in nature, whether it's just taking a quick run up the stairs to the bathroom and then back down again, just move your body around, or even put on your favorite music and just dance it out. Because the changing of the energy within the system is like distraction away from those thoughts that are going over and over in your head. You can't change the things that are happening. You can't change things that have happened in the past, but you can change how you feel about things. That would be my first quick tip. My second quick tip is to remember to change your thoughts. You are not your thoughts. You can manage your thoughts. You may not be able to stop that first thought that is scaring you, making you feel nervous, making you feel like you can't do something, but you can change the second one. So quite obviously, one of the things, my scary thoughts for today were, what if nobody turns up? Well, what if nobody turns up? Once I had that thought, I could feel the pit in my stomach drop and the fear of actually just talking to myself. But hey, I talk to myself when I'm around the house, so it shouldn't be much different. But the second thought that came in was probably along, and I can't quite remember, it was along the lines of, what if I forget everything that I'm going to say? Well, that's when I stopped it. And that's when I was like, right, okay, stop that. Because it's my logical thinking that I can tell to be quiet and think, if I forget what I'm going to say, it's okay, because I have the notes in front of me. Therefore, I can always stop, take a breath, explain what's happened, and refer to my notes. And I felt much better after that. So please remember that you are not your thoughts. You control your thoughts. They come to mind automatically, but then you have agency to make them different. And you talk to yourself like you are a reassuring friend, because I believe me, I wouldn't talk to my friends the way that I sometimes talk to myself. Another tip is to set yourself a worry o'clock. And a worry o'clock is when you are going to allow yourself to worry. So every time you go through the day and you're anxious about something, or you're worried or concerned, etc., you can actually just say to yourself, right, okay, I get that. I'm going to park that. Oh, sorry, another car analogy that I didn't even plan on there. I'm going to park that. And then at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, I am going to sit down with myself and myself alone, perhaps a cup of tea, maybe a notepad, depends on what you fancy. And I'm going to set a clock watch for 10 minutes. And I am going to sit and do all my worrying in that 10 minutes. And every time you have a thought during the day, you tell yourself, it's okay, I hear you, I'm going to park that, and we will worry about that later. And then at 4 o'clock or whatever time it is that you decide, you actually do sit down with a cup of tea and you do set a timer and you do allow yourself to worry until that timer goes off. And you can worry about all of the things that you've been thinking of on and off over the night, over the day. But I can assure you that many of those things won't be worries that you have now. And if you do have worries, perhaps by having a pen and paper, you could think about some ideas that could put them to rest. Word of warning, do not do this before going to bed. Do this at least 2 or 3 hours before going to bed, because you don't want to take your worries to bed with you. I'm very, very briefly going to go with this one here, which is about mindfulness. I'm sure you have all heard about the 5-4-3-2-1 technique, which is when you're feeling anxious or worried, to ground yourself in the moment. What you do is you look around and you find 5 things that you can see and you name them. You find 4 things that you can hear and you name them. 3 things that you can feel and name them. 2 things that you can smell and name them. And 1 thing that you can taste. And then you just take a breath, and hopefully, well, I say hopefully, by then actually you're back in the moment, because when we are anxious, we are worrying about things that are happening in the future or might happen that we don't even know what is really going to happen, but we fear that might happen. By using mindfulness techniques, it brings us back into the now, which is the safe. It is the present, a present. Okay. With sleep is probably another session because a lot of the time our anxieties can keep us awake at night. The reason why we have difficulty at night is because we become more aware. It's quieter. There's not as many distractions going on in life. We can feel and hear our own bodies. We can hear our thoughts. We can feel our breathing. We're aware of our heartbeat. My suggestion for this in the short term is two things. One is to write your 5 happies. So before you go to bed at night, sit down with a pad and write 5 things that you are grateful for, or you are happy about, or that have made you smile. Big things, small things, it really doesn't matter. It could be a squirrel running up the tree. It could be that you actually woke up this morning. Write them out. That then puts your mind into a thankful place of gratitude. And secondly, when helping go to sleep, is to count down in 300 from 300 in threes. It is quite a complex challenge to do, but it is one that works really, really well. And my final tip is to use guided relaxation, not necessarily for sleep, although it does help, but by using a guided meditation or a guided relaxation every day, you are retraining your mind and your body to know what it feels like to be relaxed. And I do have one that's free for you to download. It's 20 minutes of how to feel good now. And you can download it by going to www.myheartandmind.co.uk/AD001. That's www.myheartandmind.co.uk/AD001. Okay, so that we're coming to the end now, and I'm only 8 minutes over, so that's a good thing for me. What I would say now is I have a final tip for you, and that is if you feel frustrated that you can't snap out of the anxiety, the worry, or the fear, remind yourself you can't talk a car into stopping. Hello, Crystal. A bit late to join us, I'm afraid. I'm just wrapping up, but there will be a recording of it. Sorry, I lost my train of thought there. So, yes, right. You can't talk a car into stopping. You have to physically engage those brakes. Give your body a time. Well, sorry, I'm a bit flustered now. Let me start again. You can't talk a car into stopping. You have to physically engage the brakes. Give your body the time it needs to trust your equipment again. So I'm going to leave you with some final thoughts, and that is I'd like you to stop when you're watching in replay as well, and just have a think. Which one of the techniques have I told you about today feels doable for you? And what might get in the way of using some of the techniques? What are the things that might stop you? And if there are things that stop you, how could you make it more gentler for you? How could you take those things out of the way so it's easier for you to utilize them? So I'm just going to double check with you. Do you have any questions or suggestions for a next session? Or do you want to know anything more? I'm going to be quiet if I can for a few moments. I'm just checking the chat that I hadn't checked. Oh, I can't even be quiet. Okay, so it just leaves me to say thank you. Thank you so much for joining me today. And it means a lot to me because I am starting a membership program, a group membership program. And what that entails is that once a month, I am going to do a session like this on a topic that we can agree. for an hour or so, once each month. There'd be a second Zoom catch up once a month, which is like an open session. So it's a bit of a you ask me anything. We could have a chat about a particular subject. You can send me questions in advance. We can have questions on the day. We could do quizzes, we could play games, it'd be a community meeting where we can actually share and help each other. We can have a little bit of fun too. It doesn't have to be serious. And I can teach you some physical techniques that we can do. I just suddenly thought of a couple which might be a bit of fun. But again, it could be and can be a serious discussion. And then on the third week of the month, I will be sending out energy healing to all those that wish it. It will entail filling in a form and sending it to me, and just allowing yourself to be available for the hour. You don't have to stop and do nothing. You just need to know that at this time I will be sending you energy healing that will help you in your recovery. And on the fourth week, I will be uploading a guided relaxation to help you. It won't be just the relaxation, there'll be a little bit of pre-chat. If you've listened to my relaxations before, it will be one of those kind of things, specifically connected perhaps to a topic that we've discussed during that month, or it might be something that's a bit left field that I think that might help. So all of that is going to be included in the monthly membership. You can pick and choose what you want to. Everything will be recorded and put so you can watch it later. And this is going to be one of the first modules that I put on there, but I'm also going to be sharing it with everybody who has expressed an interest in joining us but couldn't make it today. And if you're interested, please send me a note to Sally at myheartandmind.co.uk. That's Sally with an IE, SALLIE. Send me a DM on Facebook. Communicate with me in the group however you want to, and I will send you details. But it's going to be at a cost of, in the UK, £9.99, which I think I need to look at this, equates to $13.39 per month in the USA, $18.63 in Canada, and $19.99 in Australia, and I assume New Zealand too. And the most important thing is you'll get a month free before you start paying. And as founding members, because it is my new adventure, this price is going to be fixed for the lifetime of your membership. No, it probably in my lifetime too, because when I'm not here, it won't be existing. So no matter how much I charge, if I decide to put the prices up, you will still pay the £9.99 or the $13.39. And you will always be tagged and known as one of my founding members. So that just leaves me to say, please do get in touch. I'll let everybody know where the downloads are. I will send some of the resources in writing so you can follow through with what I've been talking about. And I just want to say a couple of things. One, be kind to your heart and your mind. And two, let me remind you, you are loved more than you will ever know. You are admired by more people than you could ever imagine. You are worthy of joy and happiness and adoration. You are one of a kind, unique, priceless. You are the only one that can be you. So be proud and be you. And thank you so much for being here. Bye.